today's Buddhism, Buddhism of today. And that is also on the theme of engaged Buddhism. And he printed this series of articles on his Buddhist magazine, Lianghua. It was translated into French by Le Văn Hào in Paris. Le Văn Hào is a scholar who lives in Paris, and the title he took for the book is Aujourd'hui le Bouddhisme. Aujourd'hui le Bouddhisme. In fact, in 1964, when I visited America to give a series of lectures, I met Thomas Merton, the Trappist monk. And I gave him one copy of Aujourd'hui le Bouddhisme. And he wrote a review on that book. In 1964, 63, I was lecturing in Columbia University on Buddhism. And there was the struggle movement led by the Buddhists for human rights that ended the regime of President Diem. Maybe you have heard about the Venerable Thích Quảng Đức, who immolated himself with fire and who draw the attention of the whole world to the violation of human rights in Vietnam. And that was a completely non-violent movement for human rights. And when the Diem regime fell down, I was asked by my colleagues to come home and help. I was teaching in Columbia University. So I went home. I founded Van Hanh University, and I published, I collected many articles I have written before, and I published a book called Engaged Buddhism. Đạo Phật đi vào cuộc đời. I think this is the first time you have these informations. Đạo Phật đi vào cuộc đời. This is in 1964, in the beginning of 64. And the articles have been written before that, but I just put them together and published under the title Đạo Phật đi vào cuộc đời. Cuộc đời here is a life, is society, written in Chinese. And đi vào means to enter. So this is the real words that was used for engaged Buddhism in Vietnam. Đi vào cuộc đời, entering into life, social life, into life. In China, our colleagues have been using the word nhân gian Phật giáo. But in Vietnam, we really use the word nhập thế, engage into life. And 6 months later, I produced another book called Đạo Phật hiện đại hóa. Buddhism updated, Buddhism renewed. This is the Chinese hiện đại. Hiện đại hóa. Buddhism make actual, the actualization of Buddhism. So all these terms, all these documents have to do with what we call engaged Buddhism. So engaged Buddhism, as we have said, the first meaning of it is the kind of Buddhism that is present in every moment of our daily life. While you brush your teeth, Buddhism should be there. While you drive your car, Buddhism should be there. While you are walking in the supermarket, Buddhism should be there. So that you know what to buy and what not to buy. And I think that is the first definition of engaged Buddhism, which is very important. And as we know that Buddhism, engaged Buddhism, is the kind of Buddhism that responds to anything that happens in the here and the now. What happened in the here and the now is global warming. What is happening in the here and the now? Climate change, the destruction of the ecosystem, the lack of communication, war, conflict, suicide, divorce. And as a practitioner with mindfulness, we have to be aware of what is going on in our body, in our feelings, in our emotions, and in our environment. That is engaged Buddhism. Engaged Buddhism is the kind of Buddhism that responds to what is happening in the here and the now. It would be right if we speak about engaged Buddhism in terms of the Four Noble Truths. And the first of the Four Noble Truths is dukkha, ill being. And all time Buddhist teachers speak of the first noble truth, dukkha, in terms of old age is suffering, sickness is suffering, death is suffering, separation with those you love is suffering, you have to live with those who you don't love is suffering. Wishing for something but never obtain it is suffering. And that is the old way of describing the first noble truth. But now, as we practice mindfulness, we have to identify the kind of ill being that is really there in us and around us. And we know that, first of all, there is a tension in our body. Tension, stress, a lot of anxiety, fear, violence, broken families, suicide, war, conflict, terrorism, destruction of the ecosystem, global warming, and so on. We should be fully present in the here and the now, and to realize, to recognize the real face of your being. The usual tendency, the natural tendency is to run away, to try to run away from suffering, from ill being. We don't want to confront, we don't want to recognize them. That's too much for us. So we try many ways in order to turn around to the truth. We try to escape, we try to run away. But the Buddha advised us not to do so. In fact, he encouraged us to confront the suffering, to recognize the suffering, to look deeply into the nature of the suffering in order to learn. And his teaching is that if you don't understand suffering, you cannot see the path of transformation, the path leading to the cessation of suffering. And all of us know that the first noble truth is ill being, and the fourth noble truth is the path leading to the cessation of ill being. Without understanding the first noble truth, you never have the opportunity to see the path leading to the cessation of ill being. Looking into ill being deeply, you discover the path. That is the teaching of the Buddha. And that is why to run away from suffering, from ill being, you have no chance to see the path. And that is why we should learn to come home moment, to be fully present in order to recognize ill being as it is. And as we practice looking deeply into the first noble truth, ill being, we will discover the second truth, the nature, the roots of ill being. The nature of ill being, the making of ill being. We can call it the making of ill being. In fact, looking deeply into ill-being, we can discover the second noble truth. We have so much to do. We have so much to achieve. As a politician, as a businessman, even as an artist, we want to do more and more and more. We are craving for success. We do not have the capacity to live deeply each moment of our daily life. We never allowed our body to relax. We don't give our body a chance to relax in order to heal. Hectic life is the cause of so many tension, stress, anxiety, and so on. If we know how to live like a Buddha, dwelling in the present moment, allowing the refreshing and healing elements of life to penetrate, to nourish us, to heal us, and then we will not become victims of stress and tension and many kinds of diseases. So we can say that one of the roots of ill-being is the incapacity to live our life deeply in each moment. Competition. We want success. We want to be number one. And therefore, we should bring about a spiritual dimension to our daily life. As a politician, as a businessman, as a teacher, as a father, and so on. So the art of mindful living can be seen already as the fourth noble truth. When we have a lot of tension and irritation in us, we cannot listen to the other person. We cannot use loving speech. We cannot help each other remove wrong perceptions. And therefore, wrong perceptions give birth to fear, to hate, to violence, and so on. So we have to identify the causes, the roots of our ill-being. This is a very important work. Suicide, broken families. We know that when communication becomes difficult between husband and wife, father and son, mother and daughter, people are no longer happy. And many young people, because of despair, they want to commit suicide. They have the feeling, the emotion of despair. And as they don't know how to handle despair, they don't know how to breathe, to hold their emotion. And they think that the only way to stop suffering is to just kill oneself. In France, every year about 12,000 young people committed suicide. They cannot handle their emotion, like despair. And their parents don't know how to do it. They do not teach their children how to hold their feelings, to deal with their feelings and their emotions. And even school teachers, they don't know how to do it. How can they help their students to practice recognizing and holding tenderly their emotions and their feelings. And when the people cannot communicate, they don't understand each other, they don't see the suffering of each other, they continue to accuse each other, to blame each other. And there is no love, no happiness. And war is also born from wrong perceptions. Buddhism also. The terrorists think that the other side are trying to destroy them as a religion, as a way of life, as a tradition, as a nation. And that is why they want to punish. If we believe that the other person is trying to kill us, and then we will seek way to kill that person first in order for us not to be killed. So there is fear, there is a misunderstanding, there is a wrong perceptions as the foundation of all these violent acts. And we know that the war in Iraq, the war called anti-terrorist, that war is not helping to, has not helped to reduce of the number of terrorists. In fact, the number of terrorists is increasing all the time with the war. Because at the foundation, misunderstanding, wrong perceptions are the cause of anger, hate, and fear. In order to remove terrorism, you have to remove wrong perceptions. And we know very well that airplanes fighting guns and bombs cannot remove terrorism, cannot remove wrong perceptions. Only and compassionate listening can help bring about informations that can help people to correct their wrong perceptions. And our leaders do not know, are not trained in that discipline, and they rely on the armed forces. They rely on the guns and the bombs alone in order to remove terrorism. So looking deeply, we can see the making of ill being, the roots of ill being, by just looking, by recognizing ill being as the truth and looking deeply into its nature. There are developing countries. There are countries like China, India. Population is very large. And now many people have a chance to consume, because in the past they was not able to consume. So they need energy, they need gasoline, they need electricity. And the amount of oil, the amount of energy we can produce is limited. And the industry of meat making has been destroying a lot of our ecosystem, and make the event, the phenomenon of global warming more and more serious every day. And according to a report by the UN, where we have to reduce the meat industry at least by 50% in order to save our planet. I have written a letter to my friends and my disciples, urging them to reduce the eating of meat at least 50%. Vietnamese Buddhist tradition, many people eat vegetarian 10 days a month. I urge them to add at least 5 more days, 15 days a month. So when we look into the first noble truth, ill being, we discover the roots of ill being. And suddenly the path becomes apparent. We know how to live our daily life so that our children will have a chance to enjoy this planet. That is, the truth about the path can be seen, the fourth noble truth can be seen when we practice looking deeply at the first and at the second. The 5 mindfulness trainings, for instance, that many of you have received and practiced. The 5 mindfulness trainings are very concrete practice of compassion, loving kindness. That is the practice of true love. The first mindfulness training is about protecting life. Not only the life of human beings, but also the life of animals, vegetables. And that is the practice of protecting the planet. That is deep ecology. In Buddhism, it is taught that not only humans have Buddha nature, but animals, plants, and minerals have Buddha nature in them. And the well-being of humans depends on the well-being of animals, vegetables, and minerals. Humans are made of non-human elements. And these non-human elements are animals, vegetables, minerals. If we destroy these non-human being elements, we destroy ourselves. That is the teaching of interbeing. So Buddhism, that in deep ecology, is very clear. That is the real practice of love, protected life. Not only the life of humans, but also animals, vegetables, and minerals. And we should be able to live our daily life in such a way that this kind of practice of love could be there in every moment. The second mindfulness training is about generosity. How to not to possess anything that do not belong to us, and use our time, our material resources. That is the practice of generosity, the practice of dana. And this is also the practice of love, the concrete practice of love. You might consume less, and practicing the second mindfulness training, you develop your love. And as compassion and loving kindness grow in you, you become happier and happier all the time. So the second mindfulness training is also about love, the practice of love. The third mindfulness training is to refrain from sexual misconduct, to protect children and others from sexual abuse. Sexual misconduct has destroyed so many families, bringing about a lot of unhappy children. And therefore, the practice of the third mindfulness training is also a practice of love. practice of protection. The fourth mindfulness training is about the practice of listening with compassion and speaking with loving kindness. And these are very wonderful instruments to help restore communication between husband and wife, father and son, mother and daughter, nation and nation, communities and communities. And these are very important practice of love. To restore communication is to bring about reconciliation, is a true practice of love. And the fifth mindfulness training is about mindful consumption. We consume only the things that will bring health, well-being into our body, our spirit. We refrain from consuming the items that contain toxins like craving, like violence, like fear, like hate. And this is really the way out of our difficult situation. And that is why the path leading to the cessation of being should include the practice of 5 mindfulness. In the practice called the 8 Noble Path, the Buddha recommend right view. Right view. Right view is fundamental. Right view is the insight of interbeing. Suppose we look at a couple, we look at a father, and the practice of looking deeply allowed us to see that the son is the continuation of the father, and the father is full with 2 leaves. And you don't see the seed of corn anymore, but the seed of corn has not died. The seed of corn is still alive in the plant of corn. And if you are smart, you can still see the seed of corn in its new form, the new plant of corn. The same thing is true with the father and the son. Looking at the son, you see the father. And you see that the suffering of the son must be seen as the suffering of the father. The happiness of the father can be seen. And looking deeply like that, you discover the truth of interbeing. Happiness and suffering are not individual matter. When your father suffers deeply, there's no way that you can be happy. When your son suffers deeply, there is no way that you as a father can be happy. So you touch the truth of no self between father and son. You touch the truth of interbeing between father and son. And that is part of what the Buddha called right view, right insight. Impermanence, no self, interbeing. And when you have got that in kind of sight, your thinking will become right thinking. As a practitioner, when you produce a thought, you should be aware of the nature of that thought. Because thinking is one of the 51 mental formations. When you produce a thought, that thought might be compassionate, might goes in the direction of understanding, compassion, non-discrimination. And that thought by the Buddha as right thinking. And as soon as you produce such a thought, you feel wonderful within your body and your mind. A thought of compassion, non-discrimination, loving kindness has the capacity to heal yourself and to heal the world. And that is why a good practitioner is capable of producing many thoughts like that every day. Right thinking is thinking in the direction of non-discrimination, no self, impermanence, interbeing. Because right thinking is based on right view. When full of anger, the willingness to punish, the willingness to cause harm, and that is not right thinking. And that thought is harmful to your health and harmful to the health of society, of the world. That's wrong thinking. And this is part of the path leading to the cessation of ill-being, right view, cultivating right view. And right view you can get by the practice of meditation. Mindfulness, concentration, and insight help you to touch the truth of interbeing, the truth of no self. Right view also help you to produce right speech. You say something, and that something can inspire confidence, hope, and make the other person happy. That is right speech. And when you are able to write a letter full of love, forgiveness, kindness, you feel wonderful within yourself. When you are able to say something kind like that, that's something that what you say can have an effect of healing right away. It has an effect of healing for the other person and for the world. And every day we can say things like that, we can write things like that in the direction of right speech. And that is the path leading to the cessation of ill-being. And then the Buddha continued with right action. Right action is the kind of action that protect, that support, that help, that save. And when you take an action like that, you feel wonderful. The healing is taking place in you, and the healing is taking place in the other person, in society. That the fourth noble truth, the path leading to the cessation of ill-being, is something very concrete, like right thinking, right speech, and right action. And we know very well that the 5 mindfulness trainings are about right thinking, right speech, and right action. And if we can apply this teaching into our individual life, into our family life, at the workplace, in our community, and then we can end a lot of sufferings. So, a few examples in order to show us that engaged Buddhism could be understood, could be seen in the light of the 4 noble truths. Engaged Buddhism is the kind of Buddhism that respond to suffering, that respond to ill-being with a noble path. Responding first of all to the suffering in our body, to the suffering in our feelings and perceptions, to the suffering happening to our around us, to our environment. Responding to suffering. Helping living beings in countless ways. That is the practice of Avalokiteshvara.